Welcome to Our Place in Our World, brought to you by the RHS Stampede.
Hey guys, and welcome to the podcast of Our Place in the World, and this is our second podcast of 2019. I'm Joy.
I'm Jordan. I'm Bianca.
And we have a special guest today.
Trevor.
All right, so today we'll be talking about the comment Trump made regarding white nationalism. So for those that do not know, there was a recent shooting at a mosque where people were killed and almost 49 people lives were taken. So we're here to talk about that situation.
Well, in my point of view, so basically, Mr. Trump had said that white nationalism is not on the rise, which, in my opinion, I disagree with. Studies have been shown that, and not even just studies, that in the news we have been seeing that there are more attacks on synagogues, on mosques, on other places of worship, or even just with like people being sent like bombs from CNN, like many of them have been sent bomb threats and stuff like that, all because they do not fit Trump's criteria of what an American is, or go against his ideologies. So it is true, white nationalism is on the rise, and it's a problem. It's a problem.
There's also even a fact I found from a website, and it said the number of racist rallies and demonstrations rose last year, which is 2018, and the data shows at least 91 white supremacist rallies or other public events attended by white supremacists were held in 2018, up 76%, and then there's also a 17% rise in hate crimes, especially. So.
I think this makes people question, does this have to do with race, or does it have to do with religion? Because I know there's a stigma on people of color who are what are those religions? Muslim and stuff like that. So that there's some whites that are Muslim too. So does it have to do with a race thing, or is it a religion thing? I think that's what it's really confusing and very tricky about this matter.
Well, I just want to say first I think it would be foolish to deny that there has been a lot more people more vocally white nationalist, and I think that is a huge problem in not just the West but the rest of the world as well. But where I would disagree is I would disagree with blaming it on Trump, because it's a giant lack of evidence at all that Trump has supported or continues to support or anything like that related to white nationalism. And there's, in fact, a lot of white nationalists don't like Trump because Trump isn't a white nationalist. So they're not going to like him if he's not like them. So that's where I would disagree on it.
I think what makes Trump seem like a white nationalist is regarding I know we're not talking about border laws, but I think that's what makes him seem as one, because here people are trying to run away from a country that they have nothing, there's no opportunity, and they're trying to come to the home of the free and the home of opportunity, the land of opportunity, and it's hard for them to come, and a lot of people are getting sent back to Mexico or where they're from ICE because of the huge problem, and people are it paints Trump out to seem as the bad guy. So I think that's where the idea of his white nationalism character comes from.
Yeah. I can see how that comes about, and I have seen it come about in the media many times, how people will characterize him as a white nationalist due to that. But I think that's simply due to a lack of misunderstanding on what the border issue is actually about. It's much more about the legal issue behind it, which is that if you're a nation and your nation does not enforce its borders, then you're not really a nation. A nation without borders is not a nation. So to just doesn't matter what the people look like, to just let them come across illegally into another country That's just a blatant violation of that nation's laws. And Trump believes that we cannot let that stand, and I would agree with him. I don't believe that if it was hundreds of thousands of Canadians pouring across the U.S. border illegally, I don't think we should allow that. But yeah.
So you don't think his rhetoric at all sparks any white nationalism?
Show me the rhetoric that could spark the white nationalism. I haven't seen anything that he said that might create make white nationalists more violent at all.
So if we look back at the new generation of the Ku Klux Klan, it was about early 1900s or so, and they were all about making America white, making America Protestant religions, and what they thought as a true American. So with Trump saying that all Mexicans are rapists or all Mexicans are drug dealers, that characterization of all means they shouldn't be coming here because they are like this, but that's not the case because not all Mexicans are like that. So I feel like that aspect, and there are other examples of that, but that aspect paints him as a white nationalist because he's saying, oh, all Mexicans are like this, therefore they don't belong here, therefore they can't not be an American.
Even just to get off the immigration aspect, especially because we're talking about the white national comment that he made, I feel like also we all know that like Trump isn't always like prepared, especially when he speaks. He doesn't really think about it. And yeah, like he just says things, and I feel like when he mentions things like that about saying like a generalization about Mexicans or saying that white nationalism is on the rise, I feel like, or is on the rise. Like I don't feel like, how did I phrase this? I feel like he just doesn't think about what he says and just says it when he doesn't need to. Like these statements didn't need to be made, but I feel like since he's not prepared, he just says it. And it definitely doesn't justify what he says, but I think it does give like an understanding of how like maybe he didn't mean to put it out like that, but since was a phrase off the cuff or something, off the cuff about what he says, it brings up subjects like this that doesn't really need to be addressed at that moment. I feel.
I do agree that I would agree that his mouth gets in the way of a lot of his ideas or like his policies, but I think the best way to look at Trump, in my opinion, and this is the opinion of a lot of other people also, is it may sound kind of silly, but it actually makes a lot of sense. Ignore what he says and look at what he does. Look at the policies he pushes, look at the things he signs into law, look at that sort of thing rather than what he says, because he says a lot of stupid stuff. I agree with a lot of the things he does. I disagree with a lot of things he says, because it's undeniable that he has said a lot of things that you should not say if you're the president or if you're running for president. But the policies he's actually done and the things he's achieved don't have any sort of like negative racial basis to them at all, and so I just don't believe there's any reasonable ground to call him a white nationalist. And if he wasn't an actual white nationalist, don't you think he would be trying to push things into law that would actually make white people better than the other races or something like that? Like he would actually be actively trying to do something like that, but he's not. He hasn't actively done anything like that.